One part of the world that I believe is underappreciated is Eastern Europe, and one concept that I believe is underappreciated is my idea of having focus cities in your life. Places that aren't your main homes, even your secondary homes, but places where you spend a couple weeks, up to a couple months a year. You don't get stuck in their tax net, but you make a contribution to the local economy, you enjoy spending your time there, and they're just great places to be and get some work done. So today I'm going to share with you 7 focus cities that I think are worth considering in Eastern Europe. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where you're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Now, today we're going to talk about 7 great cities in Eastern Europe, which I call focus cities. These are places where you know your way around, you can pop in, you can spend some time, maybe even have an investment there or a bank account there. I'm not going to talk about cities like Belgrade, which I believe can be set up to be more tax-friendly for our audience. I'm going to talk about cities and countries where the tax rules are a bit more specific, a bit more exacting, a bit more strict perhaps, to where if you spend too much time there, you're going to get stuck in their tax net. And so what you want to have is a good international tax plan where you have a good home, a good hub that is tax friendly, and you spend some of your time in these places. And so the first 3 cities are basically the capital cities in the Baltics. I'll start with Riga, which potentially for my taste, is the most interesting one. Now, I think banking in Latvia has had its share of challenges over the years, but there's something about Riga that stands out to me as it's just very charming. You walk around the old town, you walk around the city center, very beautiful place, lots of parks. Even in the winter, I remember the first time I was in Riga, walking down the cobblestone streets to meet somebody. And it was snowing, and it just seemed to me, it struck me as the most beautiful snow as it just fell down, and it was just such a beautiful, cobblestone street. It's not like, where I grew up in Ohio, where it's winter and people are driving through the slush and it just gets disgusting and brown. This was like very beautiful snow, and it's just a very beautiful city. And so you can buy property. If you buy a property worth enough there, €250,000 or more, you can get their version of a golden visa, and then you can come and go from Latvia as much as you want, as well as have access to the rest of Europe if your passport doesn't already give you that. And so Latvia stands out not only as having a great capital city, but as having a great investment visa option where a real estate investment or a bank investment can get you access for 5 years, and you can just keep renewing that as long as you keep the investment. So it's a great place to keep in your back pocket. The other Baltic capital cities, Tallinn, obviously part of Estonia, very interesting place for a lot of new startups, a lot of entrepreneurs. It's become very popular. I'll tell you, when I was there, a little bit too cold for my taste, too much of the year. But definitely a cute city, one that doesn't quite feel as homey to me as a place like Riga, but definitely one that a lot of people should consider. And obviously people know Estonia because of the e-residence program. Again, a little bit overrated in my opinion. We've talked about that because of their companies. Often not the best option. Again, over-promoted in my opinion, but nothing against the country. I like the country. Nice place, worth checking out. Vilnius, as someone with Lithuanian blood, I find Lithuania interesting. Vilnius has more areas that I suppose you would call dodgy. I think that's improving, but a very nice and I think warm, comfortable feeling city center. Lots of things to do. You're further south, just a touch warmer. I like it. I think it's a great place to consider. Now, let's go a little bit further east to a place that I think so few people consider, but many more should, which is the largest city in Europe of Moscow. Now, a lot of people from the West, because they have needed a visa to go to Russia, don't go to Russia. Moscow, you have the most beautiful, in contrast to New York, for example, you have the most beautiful subway system, you have beautiful streets, you have cleanliness, you have anything that you can want. And so I know one thing for people leaving the West, particularly the United States where I'm from, is you're used to consumer conveniences. You're used to 24-hour stores. And you go to Europe and a lot of these smaller capitals like a Riga or even in the West like a Dublin, something like that, things just close. Things might be closed on Sunday or, there's no Amazon Prime, whatever. Moscow, obviously, they have their own Russian versions of many things. English is not as widely spoken, for sure. But this is a place, it's a 24/7 city. It's a beautiful city. And I think everyone I've talked to who's been there said that from a social perspective, meeting people, dating, the beauty of the city, so many things, it is a great option to consider. And they're coming out with their own business visa. They're talking about rolling out a golden visa, so there are certainly options that you can live there. Same as in the case of Lithuania and Estonia. You start a company, you hire somebody, or you put money into the company, you can get a residence permit. Russia has similar procedures. And so if you're an entrepreneur, even if you don't have that much money, you hire one person, two people, three people in some of these countries, you get your residence permit, and you can largely come and go in many cases. And so Moscow, I think, is a city that people should consider. People who've gone there really enjoy it. Another great city worth considering is Kyiv. A lot of people have gone to Ukraine. They've hired in Ukraine. I think, while certainly for a lot of admin talent, it's perhaps overpriced for the region now. Certainly still a great place to hire IT talent. A lot of people have gone to Ukraine, and again, it's a larger domestic economy, so you've got a bit more options. You've got larger spaces. You've got a bit bigger city than you might find in one of the Baltics, for example, without having the enormity of Moscow. And so Kyiv, I think, very interesting place to go. You can certainly start a company. There are different options to become a resident. One easier path is simply investing money into real estate. You put $100,000 into real estate, you get permanent residence, keeps things easy and pretty low maintenance. There actually are a few requirements to maintaining the property in the structure for that permanent residence in terms of accounting and such, but not so difficult way to get your way into Ukraine. And so very interesting place to spend time, very cultural. I like going to a lot of the musical performances, lots of great restaurants, bars, again, great social scene. A lot of people like to go there. Definitely a city to consider. Now, one city that we've talked about very little, and in a country that gets talked about very little, I've been there, I've written articles from there, but we've never really talked about Ljublijana, the capital of Slovenia. This has to be one of the most beautiful capital cities in Europe. Now, it's small, but it has the same kind of charms that Riga does, but more southeastern Europe versus the Baltics. It's in the Balkans, of course. Slovenia, the first country to break away from Yugoslavia, next to Italy's. But you have this tiny, beautiful country with beautiful lakes and mountains, and the capital city is so charming. English is more widely spoken. There are, again, not a ton of consumer conveniences, certainly some good restaurants, decent banking. You can set up a business there. Taxes on corporations are slightly above average for the regional average, which is pretty low. It's generally in the mid-teens. Slovenia is a little higher than that. Certainly not the easiest place to do business, but also not a bad place if you need to set up some kind of base. I know sometimes people I work with want to have a couple employees in the EU for certain things that they're doing. They need that EU base. You could hire some people in Slovenia. It's a bit more affordable than a lot of other countries. Get your residence permit, spend some time in Slovenia. Very interesting passport to have potentially in the future. And so I think a great city to consider spending some time in. So the seventh focus city in Eastern Europe is one that some might not consider to be European at all, but it's one that I always enjoy spending time in. I think offers a lot of options, which is Istanbul. Now, Turkey has its own citizenship by investment program with a $250,000 real estate investment or a $500,000 bank deposit. You can become a citizen right away, so you don't have to mess around with starting a company or buying a cheaper property and getting residence and renewing it. You can just go right to citizenship if you want. And then you can spend as much time in the country as you want. And so Istanbul, very interesting option. One of the cheapest places in the world, quite frankly, to shop for a lot of things, whether it's home decor for your home, things like televisions, electronics, fragrances, clothing. I mean, a great place to go and shop. And so if you like living in other places in Eastern Europe, if you live in Belgrade, for example, great place to go and buy stuff with a far better selection, far more different kinds of brands. If you like luxury shopping, Turkey's a great place for you. And at a lot lower price than you'd find in some of these countries that are smaller and have a lot fewer options. So great place just to integrate into your life for that. Good health care, hospitals that target a lot of different procedures, from cosmetic to actual pretty serious medical procedures. Great place to spend time. And so I think that it is definitely not a place where I would want to live full time, but in the mix of things, not a bad place to have in the mix. Again, if your concerns are, how am I getting access to lots of different products at an affordable price? how am I getting access to healthcare? Perhaps you live in a place like Tbilisi or somewhere that is tax friendly, but you don't have the world's top tier healthcare. You want that great medical tourism experience. I think Istanbul is a place that is worth considering. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 cities most appeals to you? Again, I've left out some of the cities that I think already are relatively tax friendly. These are places where you would spend not a lot of time, but enough just to get the flavor. Focus city. You know your way around, but you're not living there all the time. So leave a comment below. I want to hear which of these cities would be your favorite. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.